Hello everybody. Welcome to Amrapali Group of Institutes Sawaal Jawaab series. Today we shall be talking about the scope of bartending, mixology and future in beverage business. And we are fortunate that we have Mr. Hemant Pathak with us, who is a celebrity bartender and mixologist. He is a bar manager and chief mixologist at the award-winning and Michelin-starred restaurant Junoon, which is at New York, America. Welcome, Mr. Pathak.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sarma. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you.
Sitting at home, I was quite bored. I think this is the least we could do in this lockdown. So.
Yeah. It is a tough time, the COVID-19, and everybody has been forced to sit at home.
Yeah, I think nobody imagines something like this. So.
And we are maintaining social distance too.
This is very, very important nowadays.
I believe this is the most long duration of break for you, is it not?
Yeah, meaning I came early in March, and this year I planned only for a month. But this has been like a couple of months now, and
getting longer.
Yeah, it's getting longer. Probably I will have some more family time for probably another 2-3 months. So it's a good time. Family time is a good time.
I hope things shall get better soon.
I'm definitely hoping so. The same.
All right. I just want to know about your journey from India, from a place like Haldwani, Uttarakhand. You went to New York. What was your journey all about?
Yeah, it's meaning when I see the skies of New York, that every day when I go to work, and that reminds me like where I come from, like foothill of Himalayas. Haldwani is we moved to Haldwani like probably 7 years ago, but I born and brought up in a very rural part of the country, in foothill of Himalayas, which is border area for China and Nepal, not very far from here, district Pithoragarh. So if you drive 30 minutes, you're in Nepal. Mm-hmm. So I born and raised in a very rural community and rural neighborhood where government education happened in the primary schools to start with. Then learned my ABCD in the 6th standard when we joined the government schools, because my father was a teacher at that point, then became a lecturer, then principal, and he got retired a couple of years ago. So our primary education happened actually at my father's school. Mm-hmm. But of course, we used to walk like probably couple of miles downhill to go to school with a big bag, and same in the evening, come back home with that heavy bag. But I think that was just zeal to do something in our life. Mm-hmm. Coming from this part of the world, which is quite tough. I still see, my friends, family out there struggle a lot, because if you want to see the employment news, we don't have access. True. We still have that, meaning the scenario has been changed, but not that lot. Mm-hmm. So still, we have a lot, far way to reach to metro cities and all. So my primary education happened from my father's school somewhere in district of Pithoragarh, and for my 12th grade, for my intermediate, I moved to Mission Inter College in Pithoragarh, in a district. So that was a big city for me, my district. So I studied there for a year. Then I was not that studious, really. Okay. I was not that so much into books and reading and all. Meaning since very early days, I realized that I can learn a lot more faster, looking after things visually and watching videos, kind of that side. Then when my family decided, after asking me that if you want to pursue your college in GPGC Pithoragarh, in a college there, I went from science stream, I went to the art stream. So mm-hmm. I picked a subject like history, economics, and double English. And barely I could survive for a year, and I finished like 1 year regular college. And I told straight to my father's face, like, you are spending 3 years and this much money to send me college, and why don't I can do a professional course. And from that side, looking into the hotels and hospitality, it seemed like a little bit more glamorous. Mm-hmm. And I got fascinated. I said, I think that industry is the best industry for me, and I think I can survive there. And I moved, I left my college and I came to Dehradun to finish my hotel management. I studied from a private college for 3 years. But that was not that easy as well. Because coming from a Hindi stream all the way till 12th grade, then moving to the English medium was not that easy. But, पिताजी ने एक बात बोली थी, सर, ओखल में सर डाल दिया तो डरना क्या? I said, this is the time now. There is nothing called look back. There is nothing called to go back and say like, I can't do it. When I was stepping out from my hometown, he clearly mentioned one thing. If you get a chance to broom a floor, do in such a way that people say somebody cleaned the floor today.
Good.
I think that beautiful word from my father's, I can live my life long.
That was a good message.
That was enough for me. And I struggled like crazy. That time India used to have that ragging thing and that English mediums and English textbooks and all. But after first year, this kind of like ease out, and I kind of like get into the flair of study. And our industry is so much practical rather than theoretical. Of course, the basics you need, and it became a part of my daily routine. And from there, from second year, when I finished my industrial training from La Meridian, New Delhi, I said like, I looked at the entire hotel operations and looked at different restaurants, bar. I said like, you know what, that's a Chinese, that's a Japanese, continental, Indian. But that Johnny Walker Black Label is same for every restaurant. Why don't I focus on Johnny Walker Black Label?
Okay.
I mean, the beverage side of the industry.
Yes.
And when I came back, I started focusing on the food and beverage service. And, of course, we had, in a 3-year, we do have quite a, elaborate textbooks and pretty much everything as a fundamental and basics. And I started grabbing like as much as I can in Hindi, English, whatever way I could. And then I somehow finished my 3 years and I finished pretty well. Since then, I got a little bit more sincere than my early days. And the first job I got in Taj Palace, New Delhi, back in 2008. And that year I finished my college. Right after finishing my college, I have been lucky and I got the job in Taj. That was a very good start for an individual like me. Coming from a very small town, Delhi, was a very big city for me.
Yes.
Very, very big city. Meaning going to Delhi was like, going to like some other part of the world. Seriously.
Yes.
I still remember once my father supposed to go to Delhi for his surgery, and he took my sister, and I cried half a day. Like, why not me? Why my sister? So Delhi was like nightmare. Like chota sa when I say this, it's a innocence. It's an innocence of a Pahari boy. It's an innocence of a person who is coming from a rural part. एक छोटा सा स्टोरी आपके साथ शेयर करना चाहूंगा.
Please.
जब मैं पहली बार आईएसबीटी में उतरा, मैं हिंदी में बोलूं तो काफी अच्छा लगेगा.
बिल्कुल.
पहली बार जब आईएसबीटी में उतरा और मेरे को अपनी आंटी के घर में जाना था, वो इज लाइक नियर बाई धौलाकुआं. आईएसबीटी में मैं डीटीसी की बस में चढ़ा. आई थिंक बस नंबर 729 ऐसे कुछ. डीटीसी की बस में चढ़ा और मैं सबसे पीछे वाली सीट पे जाके बैठ गया. और मैंने देखा कि यूजुअली इन उत्तराखंड the conductor comes to you for ticket.
True.
In DTC, you have to go to conductor if you want to buy tickets. अब मेरे पास कोई आया नहीं और मेरे साथ वाले ने भी, मैं देखता रहा कि यार कोई टिकट भी नहीं मांग रहा है और मेरे साथ वाले ने भी नहीं मांगा, क्या पता उसके पास पास होगा. I was not aware about the regulations, rules and how the functionality of buses in Delhi. तो मैं पहुंचते पहुंचते धौलाकुआं पहुंच गया और मैं अपने स्टॉप पे उतर गया. Luckily कोई चेकिंग नहीं हुई, nobody, जब मैं अपनी आंटी के पास पहुंचा एंड आई काइंड ऑफ नरेटेड द होल स्टोरी. ऐसा ऐसा हुआ. मैंने कहा यार क्या सिटी है ये, तो यहाँ कोई टिकट भी नहीं मांगता है. लिटरली. एंड ऑल देयर 3 kids and husband and wife, my uncle and auntie, they started laughing. I said like, कहते तू बच गया, तेरे को कोई पकड़ भी लेता. So when I go back and I see like the hotel management graduate from Dehradun going to a big city like Delhi, but does not even know how the city functions. And I won't say this was my ignorance. This was my innocence.
Yes, true.
Because ऐसा माहौल कभी नहीं मिला. And whatever I had seen and I'm seeing, every day it's that hunger to learn got into me. Everything was new for me.
Good.
Right? क्योंकि कहाँ पहाड़ों से कोई बंदा दिल्ली पहुँच गया. So luckily I finished 4.5 years in Taj Palace, starting from a restaurant called Masala Art, still there. I started as a steward. But that time, they renovated an outlet and they got a Blue Bar and Blue Ginger. That was the first Vietnamese restaurant chain from Vietnam, and Taj got into India. They started from the Taj Bangalore, and the second outlet supposed to open in Taj Delhi. So they were doing like inter-hotel transfer. And I had been lucky. I got selected for the Blue Bar team. That's where, that fire of becoming a bartender started.
Okay.
And I had been lucky enough to work with, some of the great management in Taj, and more importantly, a gentleman called Nick Hawkins, who had experience of 18 years as a bartender in national and international mixology. So that's where I learned the craft of mixology for about 6 to 9 months.
All right.
But slowly I started getting into competitions and all, and that gave me an opportunity to see where I stand within the Delhi as a bartending community versus national. Then finally I got a chance to represent India for Diageo World Class.
So there you found your true potential.
True potential. Very true. So 2011 was the year, had been super lucky for me, and I became the first Indian to represent India for Diageo World Class.
Great.
Diageo is one of the largest import-export company.
Yes.
And India was participating very first time, and I won among 396 bartender in India.
Oh, wonderful.
And got a chance to represent India for another among 34 countries. I think that the training period right before the international, after winning the national one, was super important, and I got people like Adam Brewer, Tim Jers, Timothy Ban, like all these, the people from Diageo. They really trained me so hard, and that was really a concrete for my future journey. And I finished pretty well, I would say, meaning whatever the resources and knowledge I had. I finished one challenge, number 1, just by Yono-san, the great bartender, owns the Hi-Fi bar in Japan. It's like amazing. And, right after winning this big competition, with the help of Taj, I got featured in many national medias. I got interviewed by many international medias right after that. And 2012, the next year, I got a chance to represent India in Puerto Rico for Bacardi Legacy as a guest bartender.
Okay.
So that was my entry in the United States. So it was like climbing one after another. And when I went there, and I saw I think I could do a lot more better than what I was doing. So without thinking, I came back, I resigned Taj, and I took a step to go back to United States. Luckily, I had enough coverage in terms of national, international media, and I ended up getting a extraordinary visa in mixology. And by far, I'm the only and first Indian who has extraordinary skilled visa in mixology for United States. So, and by saying this, I feel it's more burden, it's more responsibility, because it's not about my emotions and my future, but I'm carrying, the future and the image of Indian bartender in on a global stage. So, and it's my constant effort, whatever I could learn, could see from my eyes, and deliver it to my people back home.
Great.
So, it's been quite 7 to 8 years. I'm in New York working for Junoon, a wonderful Indian restaurant, and whatever I am today, I learn a lot from a restaurant who has a great caliber to deliver in terms of wonderful food, beverages, and wine program. And this is pretty much my solid 17 years journey so far, which had been super fruitful and still rewarding me day and night.
Yes. And it is because of your passion, your hard work, and your approach, the positive approach towards life. Is it not that?
Very, 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 very true. You kind of like put together in a small phrase is absolutely right.
I have a question here. People say that until unless you speak fluent, correct English, there is no future in hotel industry, especially abroad. What do you have to say on that?
So, see, Mr. Sharma, my English is not that good looking. Let me phrase it that way. I still struggle when things comes to the vocabulary because English never been a part of my earlier education. When I say I learned alphabets in 6th standard, so you could imagine what could have been the situation when I end up going to Dehradun or Delhi.
And in fact, it happens to most of the Indians.
Of course, and especially
the northern Indians,
and especially the state where we are.
Yes.
I totally can imagine how much struggle they do. So there is something called literature, and there is something called simple language. And our side of the business, it's more practical English than more scientific, vocabulary what you need. If you know your habitual English, you can survive anywhere in the world.
So it's more important to communicate.
It's more important to communicate.
Right.
And communicate with the habits. Right? If you bring that language into your habits, you're gonna be all right.
And moreover, if you can communicate your message, this is what is required.
That is what is required. But of course, you should have an ability to listen and kind of like repeat in your mind and in your brain. So gradually, you kind of like focus a lot more in listening because that is the best tool. More you listen, more you learn.
Yes, true.
You cannot be a good speaker if you are not a good listener. So people who come from this part of the world like me, we have to focus like double the amount what boys from metro cities.
Because we do not get that kind of exposure basically.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Another question which is coming to my mind is regarding girls coming into bartending or mixology. I have seen a pioneer, Shapti Basu, in that. But moreover, we find very limited or maybe no female in bartending. Do you think it is some taboo or can be changed?
See, when I started looking for mixology as a career, and I looked up to Sadhvi ma'am and Young Duplama and some of the great names in Indian mixology that time, and still they are there. When we talk about women's empowerment, that there is nothing called they cannot do it, or they are not able to do it, or they are not willing to do it. There is nothing like that. Trust me, other side of the world, the girl bartenders are doing much more than we're doing. There are in America, there is something called speed drag. Speed drag is, whatever they do, they focus a lot more on breast cancers, and that organization is totally started by lady bartenders.
Okay.
And only lady bartenders goes and perform there and win the contest. Amazing. And it's not limited to United States. And they started going to Australia and some other part of the world. And soon I heard like they want to come to India as well. See, we are talking about, I think, when I started working in hotels, what we used to have? We used to have only few classic cocktails, like Bloody Mary, Manhattan, Negronis. I'm talking about back in 2009, 2010. Like post 2010, it started that craft cocktail, speakeasy, a lot more like home style, homemade, evolve into mixology.
Yes,
and
there
before what we had like only few limited cocktails, and that is limited to bars in hotels.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And that menu is never changing. Right.
And people used to concern that unless you know your classical cocktails, you have no future.
No future. Absolutely. Yeah. So, but see, India is a very big market. If you talk about, probably we are one of the largest country where we drink a lot more the dark spirit.
Yes.
When we talk about whiskey, rum, or brandies. So, because of population and the popularity of alcoholic beverages in India, every liquor company wants to invest in India, and they are doing it constantly. I see, industry is evolving like day and night, right? And so when there is more demand, there is more supply.
True.
And when there is demand versus supply, then there is more talents coming into a market to handle, the two side of the business. And probably in early days we had only Sadhubi man to handling the bartending for lady side, but now we have some of the best lady bartender in this country. Girls are doing fantastic. So once upon a time we're talking about, but in the current situation, India is really going head to head. No matter it's a male bartending or female bartending.
So I consider it as a taboo, and things are changing now.
It's changing now.
There's a bright future for girls in this beverage industry.
Absolutely. It's a matter of determination. You want to do it. If you want to do it, you want to do it.
Great.
Right?
Right. During our college days, we used to think that learning wines is very difficult. And as you're a sommelier too, what do you think? Is it really difficult to learn wines, or there are some basic concepts which if you know, you can survive, or you can learn more?
I still think, it's a difficult thing, because world of wine is another big game. There is one beverage side, and then wine eliminates and becomes another world. So I think when we talk about F&B, food and beverage, and when we talk about beverages, we have to break it down.
Right.
We have to break it down like, it's a non-alcoholic or alcoholic beverages. Then there is beers and there is wine, and there is expertise in every field.
True.
Right. So when we graduate from a hotel management college, we say like we want to pick F&B or food production. Then when you go in, then you need to decide like, where you want to go. You want to go bar side, or you want to go the restaurant side, food handling and food serving side. So suppose you said I want to go to the bar side. Okay, so now you are in the bar side. Now you need to decide. Of course you have to have the elementary basic knowledge of all the beverages for sure if you want to survive. But now you need to see like where you want to get deeper into. You want to go in the world of spirits, or you want to go in the world of wines.
Right.
Because these are two different worlds. Of course, goes simultaneously side by side. But world of wine is another big game. Right? There is a wonderful career, and there is different level what you need to pass to become a master into world of wine. So, meaning for me, I am not a sommelier, but I did the basic studies about sommelier course. I did some from the American sommelier. I did the basic course. So, to work in a Michelin star restaurant, you have to have if you want to manage, you have to have the fundamental killers, and you should be able to talk about your basic wines, your wine list, and you should be able to present and open a bottle of wine in front of guests.
Okay.
So that's must. I think not only for a Michelin star, but every restaurant bar, that has to be a criteria. You should know the fundamentals.
One question. What is the difference between the status, the reputation, respect of a bartender in India and America or Europe?
When we talk about image and status, I don't think and I don't see any difference. It's pretty much same. It's a matter of like how you take it and how you deliver. I think totally based on that. Bartenders is someone like an artist who study hard, who get an expertise in the world of beverages and constantly create some phenomenal concoctions, like chefs working in a kitchen, right? So they are more they work as an artist. They create a wonderful show. So they just need a stage. It doesn't matter that stage is in India or in Haldwani or in United States or in New York. It's just a matter of having that stage, and you are confident enough to perform behind that stage.
So is mixology more of science or art, or is it just a combination of both these streams?
I strongly believe that's the combination of these two. But I would say, apart from art, science, there is something called balance. So that balance is very, very important.
Right.
So of course, there are some techniques which belongs to science, some techniques which belongs to art in terms of flair, your persona, your personalities, right? And when making some carving, making some phenomenal garnishes is an art. But same way, making some sort of playing with the chemicals and the scientific substance into alcohol is a science.
Right.
But now there is something called a balance, which brings that moment of magic, where you kind of put together everything and present in a form of cocktail or a beautiful glass of booze. And there another word comes in place called experience. Right? So that art science balance, then the last step is experience, which is a moment when the customer and the bartenders or the person working behind the stick becomes one. Right? And that's the moment where they both can live that moment.
And it gives enough scope for innovations. Like our college days, we were told that the cognacs are all served neat, or at the most you can add warm water to it. But I've seen people taking cognac on a glass of chilled ice or a bed of ice, or maybe on crushed ice. Similarly, martini on vodka tinis, there are certain innovations. So what do you have to say on this?
See, as far as my knowledge, cognac is one of the oldest spirit, had been used in the field of cocktails and in bars. Some of the oldest cocktail called brandy crusta, which is served with the crushed ice, crusta, brandy Alexander or French 75, which has the gin version too. These all cocktails either served with ice or we always shake it with ice.
Right.
So it is just a matter of we had cognac for us back in days was a luxury. We never thought of as we said, cocktail was not a part of our lifestyle back in 90s or early 20s.
Yes.
So we never thought of mixing cognacs or some of this untouched category of the spirit into cocktail. So somebody told us okay, it's only warm water or neat. So we believed in that. But in the world of cocktails, I think cognacs and all these rare spirits had been a part of the journey for quite a long time. So there is nothing wrong to add some ice, some nice ice, or just to make it more palatable, or extend the length of the flavors. So it's just a matter of how you use it and what your palate want end of the day.
Right. What is your guidance or pathway, or what the student, the young professional should do to become a good bartender?
See, there is a zeal to do something. Profession could be anything. So I would say, do what you love and love what you do.
Right.
No matter, it's a field of serving food. It's a field of creating food. Same as, being a bartender or some other designation behind the bar, like barback or managers. End of the day, you need to see what you want to do, what you are capable of.
Right.
Right? And use your strength and focus a lot more that way, in that direction. Okay. To become a great bartender or one of the best in the world, of course, hard work, gaining as much knowledge you can, look around yourself and see what's happening in the global market. You should be more focused towards your career. You should know your strength and your weaknesses. And lastly, put all this together, bring into your mind, heart and soul, and put everything in your work field, and try to create something with your imagination which has never done before.
Yes.
And make your own identity, right? Focusing, taking inspiration from the world, taking inspiration from your superheroes, it's great. But end of the day, you have to make your own identity. How you can do it? You have your own mind, you have your own, wonderful, knowledgeable brain. So you have to find a way to be unique in a crowd.
Yes, great. Does humor also plays an important role? Because I've been seeing some people coming up with innovative ideas, adding humor while serving drinks. Does it solve the purpose, or it should be avoided?
Could you elaborate, what is the questions regarding?
It's like interacting with the guest. Should you use humor?
Oh, humor, absolutely. So, humor, without humor, life is what? Is nothing, right? Humor is very, very important, of course. So, humor is a part of your activities which helps you to become more hospitable when we talk about our industry and hospitality. So, either it's a humor, your knowledge, or your charisma, your persona, your personality, how you behave, how you look, how you, stand or do your activities, your movements. All these tells how hospitable you are. Is it coming from your heart, or you are just standing behind the bar and know 5 cocktails, 5 recipes, and you wanna say you are one of the best bartenders. The recipe and those textbooks comes later. First, that should come from your heart minds. You should definitely know that Atiti Deva Bhava हमारे इंडिया में काफी अच्छे से कहा गया. Start from your home and treat your customer like God, to an extent, for sure. But that has to come from your heart, right? And
so you mean to say more important is the service attitude?
Attitude is very, very important. That positive service attitude is necessary. So that kind of helps you, and that connects. How I can connect with you if it's not I answer few of your questions, but if I brings that into my personality and shows as my behavior, that definitely gonna make a strong relationship between two of us.
Okay, one more query from a lot of people, especially students and people who come from the background where it is drinking is not appreciated in family. So is it necessary to drink alcohol to become a good bartender, or somebody who is a teetotaler can also become a good bartender?
Absolutely not required. If you want to be a bartender, you have to drink. Okay, but you should be courageous enough to understand and understand the sentiments and the aromas of different beverages. You could be a teetotaler for sure, but if any given point you have leverage to taste something, then you should not deny the fact.
All right.
Right. So there should not be any no for everything. Then you would, if you don't know the taste of a good Negroni, then how can you create a good Negroni? Right. So your taste buds should know what's the aroma comes out of this particular beverage, then how that gonna react to your palate, and of course how that goes to in your throat, then how the finish going to be. So as long as you have that sense, that's what you need.
So it's more necessary or rather required to know about the beverages. And it's okay if you do not drink, you
That's
can
fine.
certainly be a good bartender.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it is okay to taste, but
It's
not
okay to
become a
taste.
habitual drinker.
See, when you get mastery into the world of spirits, then you would know, like, what to drink, how to drink, when to drink. So you will have those etiquettes. So it's not a matter of like spending a bottle of whiskey in a go. That's not a very healthy drinking, right?
Right.
Drinking is great, but to an extent, when you know your limits and when you know what's going to happen after you drinking a certain amount of alcohol, when you know all this chemistry and scientific side of it, you are good.
Great. Any message for the viewers in this difficult time?
I would say, the universe has its own nature, meaning, it come back to, we got, the wonderful, like, unimaginatory difficulties in our life. But I strongly believe it's going to come back to normal very soon. And as an individual, as a professional, I remind myself that I will come back stronger. And whatever time I have, I cannot feel regret like what's happening in my life. Rather, I will focus on my future and how can I deliver the best I couldn't do in my past.
Great. Yes, it's an opportunity.
It's an opportunity at the end of the day, right? So, meaning sitting at home and being sad won't help me out. Rather, I see around, take care of my own people around, and follow all the norms, regulations, rules. The government is trying to create the necessary awareness, and help others and help my family members, and of course focus more into my own profession and make it more bigger for the future. So stay safe, stay home, stay healthy.
Yes, certainly stay safe. It was a wonderful interaction with you. We discussed a lot of things, and I'm sure it was knowledgeable too for the viewers. They must have learned certain things. And if in case you have any question or a query, you can certainly post. We'll get in touch with Mr. Pathak and we'll try to solve your query. Thank you so much. Have a great time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sarpan.